You can listen to The Front on your smart speaker every morning. To hear the latest episode, just say, play the news from The Australian.
From The Australian, here's what's on the front. I'm Claire Harvey. It's Friday, July 14. Unions and employers are accusing government of wasting millions on Indigenous construction training programs. The scheme at Charles Darwin University was designed to help First Nations people work in construction in their own remote communities. But just 50% of students complete the course, and employers say those who do graduate don't have the skills they need. Labor has dropped support for coal from its draft national platform as the party seeks to shift its focus to tackling climate change. It's the latest development in the lead up to the party's national conference as traditional and progressive wings seek to reshape Labor's values. Nicola Forrest is Australia's newest billionaire after announcing she'll live apart and split her wealth from her husband Andrew, although they say they've no plans to divorce after 31 years of marriage. So what happens to their giant philanthropic mining and environmental dreams? That's first up. Andrew and Nicola Forrest's love story reads a bit like a romance novel. He was the swaggering stockbroker when they met in 1988. She was the beautiful free spirit, finding her place in the world, flipping burgers at an outback pub in Queensland. They fell in love and got engaged, but Andrew got cold feet, and so Nicola moved to Europe. After a few months, Andrew flew over and proposed again. From then on, the couple decided to be equal partners in everything, as parents, in business, and in their dream of philanthropy. And now they're breaking up and have decided to split their assets. And Nicola has leapfrogged her husband and is worth more than him.
Nicola Forrest is worth about $1.1 billion more than Andrew Forrest all of a sudden.
John Stenzolt is editor of The Australian's Richest 250 and our other lists, and he covers the fortunes of our richest people.
It all comes down to a 50 million parcel of Fortescue Metals Group shares that is in Nicola's name only. That is the key difference between her estimated wealth on paper and Andrew Forrest's estimated wealth. So I've got him at about 14.35 billion, call it 14.4 billion now, and Nicola Forrest about $1.1 billion more than that, so almost 15.5 billion. I think one interesting theory is that having 50 million Fortescue shares in her own name gives Nicola an income stream separate to her husband, potentially former ex-husband one day, because it's just in her name only. So that gives her, the ability to buy her own assets, to potentially fund any, legal action that may, result of a potential divorce, everything like that. So that gives her income that's separate to, the rest of the family empire.
In 1994, Andrew Forrest, whose nickname inevitably is Twiggy, had a grand idea to start a mining company based in the Pilbara, building a rail network and exporting iron ore to China. But it couldn't happen without the approval of Nicola. Here she is talking about the proposal.
All right. And how much is that going to cost? And he said, about $2 billion. And I just went, oh my God.
Straight out of uni, Andrew Forrest founded a mining company, Anaconda Nickel, but it hit financial disaster and he moved on to iron ore, taking over a company in WA's Pilbara region and naming it Fortescue Metals Group. By 2008, Fortescue was shipping iron ore to China, and today FMG is the fourth largest iron ore producer in the world. He and Nicola spend much of their time on their Minderoo Foundation. It focuses on Indigenous employment, early childhood education, clean oceans, and stamping out modern slavery.
Philanthropy is a huge part of what the Forrest family does. It's entwined with their business story. It is the biggest foundation for a living Australian at the moment. So it'll continue to be extremely important for the family. Nicola Forrest has been integral to that. In fact, you could probably see that as a vehicle that she has become more prominent in the Australian public in recent years. She takes a very keen interest in it. And it's a very important part of both their reputations as well. I mean, not only are they very, very wealthy, they do a lot in charitable interests as well. And not every Australian person on the Richest 250 does as much as they do.
The foundation tells you something about the Forrests. The chief executive is John Hartman, who once served time in prison for insider trading, along with socialite Roxy Jacenko's husband, Oliver Curtis.
Oliver Curtis was sentenced to 2 years jail with a non-parole period of 1 year for insider trading with a childhood friend back in 2007, which net them almost $1.5 million.
A lot of people that Andrew Forrest has employed over time, including Hartman, have got their second chances as a result of the Forrests. I mean, they do like a reclamation project, if you like, and John Hartman is certainly one of those. And it's been the case with other executives that have come through the ranks, both on the business side and the philanthropic side in recent years, and they do tend to intertwine at times. So the Forrest empire really is business and philanthropy, and Hartman is a clear example of someone who cuts across all those interests.
Andrew Forrest has built a fortune out of nothing once. Now he wants to do it again, in an entirely new industry, green hydrogen. Most old-fashioned miners are diversifying into different minerals, like nickel and copper, which are used for wind and solar projects. But Forrest wants to go bigger. Here's an ad for Fortescue Future Industries.
While fossil fuels remain the most profitable, they will remain the most prolific. But time will run out before oil does. Green energy can meet the needs of all industry and all nations. Green hydrogen, green ammonia, and green electricity can outperform fossil fuels and provide a limitless source of power and growth.
The theory is this: Fortescue builds hydro, wind and solar energy projects around the world and converts the energy into hydrogen, which is stored as a gas and can be exported in pipes and on ships. The hydrogen is created by a process called electrolysis, which some listeners might remember is also the name of a very painful method of removing leg hair. This is different. A renewable power source, like a wind farm, pushes power through electrodes, which split water into hydrogen and oxygen. Forrest's idea is to make hydrogen the world's primary energy source. But it's challenging. Hydrogen production uses a lot of water, and Forrest has set ambitious targets that require getting a lot of green energy production projects happening very quickly, and the hydrogen production technology is not yet foolproof. John's reporting with our colleague Nick Evans has shown insiders at Fortescue Future Industries have compared the company to Theranos, the disastrous health startup that reaped billions in investment before they got the technology to work. And the road for FFI has been rocky.
Look, his vision is to be the biggest energy provider in the world. He said to us he wants it to be the green hydrogen version of Saudi Aramco, which is the biggest companies in the world, full stop. A company that's worth, tens and tens and tens of billions of dollars. FFI has got a lot of money invested into it. It's not necessarily going to make profits for a while, but that's the vision eventually. That's what I think Andrew Forrest wants his legacy to be, along with the philanthropic side of things.
The Forrests love a big public gesture, but in June, shares began quietly moving around their various corporate holdings. $5 billion worth of Fortescue shares were transferred into the Minderoo Foundation. At the same time, another $1 billion plus in Fortescue shares moved into a new holding company called Coaxial Ventures, controlled by Nicola Forrest. In response to questions, they released a statement.
After 31 years of marriage, we have made the decision to live apart. Our friendship and commitment to our family remains strong. There is no impact on the operations, control or direction of Fortescue, Minderoo or Tadarang. We will continue our shared mission to create and gift our wealth to tackle community and global challenges, as recently shown by last month's donation of 1/5 of our Fortescue shareholding to Minderoo Foundation.
So far, so classy. So, how do the Forrests navigate an uncoupled life? Coming up, after building their wealth together, what will the Forrest empire look like apart? When huge fortunes are at stake, it's not easy to break up with dignity. Just ask Amazon's Jeff Bezos.
Soon after, the National Enquirer published alleged photos and text messages between Jeff Bezos and former television news anchor Lauren Sanchez.
Or Microsoft's Bill Gates.
Were you unfaithful in your marriage? Is that one of the reasons there was a divorce?
I certainly made mistakes, and I take responsibility. I don't think delving into the particulars at this point is constructive.
So, are the Forrests showing the other plutocrats how to do things with style?
I'm not really sure what's going on behind the scenes. One never knows, do they? But nothing publicly at the moment. Look, Andrew Forrest does travel a lot. Perhaps they've just simply grown apart over time.
The Forrests say they won't be getting divorced at this stage, but if they did, this would surely have ramifications for the complete split and control of the company.
The simple headline would be it would be the biggest divorce in Australian history. The Forrests have been very careful to say that all that combined shareholding in Fortescue will be voted together. It's all controlled together. So if that changes over time, there would be clear ramifications if someone has, well, now it's sort of, let's say, roughly 35, 37% is spoken for on a combined basis. You split that, that's a really big figure. Does that mean maybe one day Fortescue is in play, as in a merger or an acquisition target? Probably not yet, but absolutely that could change. If there was a falling out, we won't know until then.
John, you put together our Richest 250 list every year. So what does this do to the rankings?
Well, Andrew Forrest was at number 2 on the list with, $34 billion worth of wealth. Earlier this year, Gina Rinehart, number 1, just above that. Now, Nicola Forrest, if you split and have her slightly more shareholding there, she'll be the second richest woman in Australia on paper. So she'll vault in the top 10, just above Andrew Forrest. So it has made a big change already. And on paper, it's a significant change and one I've never really seen.
Some other billionaires in our top 10 get bumped up a spot.
Well, the good news for Anthony Pratt is he's number 2 on the list now. So he moves up from 3 to 2. Harry Triguboff 3, Clive Palmer 4. The 2 Atlassian co-founders, Mike Cannon-Brookes and Scott Farquhar, would be 5 and 6. And then Nicola Forrest, I'd have at number 7 with about, as he said previously, $15.5 billion worth of wealth. Andrew Forrest, number 8, $14.4 billion. And then you've got the 2 Canva co-founders, Cliff Obrecht and Melanie Perkins, rounding out the top 10 now.
John Stenzold is The Australian's lists editor. Thanks for joining us on The Front. Our team is Leah Zamaglu, Christian Amiot, Tiffany Dimack, Jasper Leake and me, Claire Harvey. Don't forget, you can check out all the country's best journalism anytime at theaustralian.com.au.